Computer Science from Siagat Institute of Technology. Now I'd like to call Dr. Amol sir to address our participants. Hello, Amol sir, you can continue, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having this occasion and having this kind of a function here, right? And then thanks for inviting me to speak to all of you. Very interestingly, I do not have any PPT, right? So that's I think it would be relief to all the students. It's more like interaction. I want to talk to all of you on this auspicious. Yes, I'm deliberately using the word auspicious day of Engineers Day, right? And then thank you to all the principals and dignitaries on this virtual dais. I think this kind of function virtually, if it is making it possible, right? So there are lots of engineers who are putting the efforts in the forefront as well as in the background to make these kind of functions possible, right? So thanks to all of them, thanks to all the office bearers, right? Uh, on a lighter note, who is actually an engineer, right? Is engineer? I would say that if I take the help from Scott Adams, then engineers who are the people who like to solve the problems, right? And then if there are no problems available, then they will surely make sure that they create it, right? So that they get a chance to solve it further. But believe me, right, during all these lockdown situations, the various engineers at various different stages, let it be building construction to telecommunication, networks, computers, and mechanical, right? All the electrical, electronic branches, they have relentlessly worked to make sure that the social function society is working very smooth. I would say that, in my opinion, the engineers are the people who are actually making all these principles and theoretical problems, theorems, make it suitable to the practical world, right? So that's the time and that's the place where rubber is actually hitting the road. And I would call all the engineers as a medium to make that rubber hitting the road. Without them, all principles and theorems would probably remain in the books, and they will continue to be like a study material, and they will not really come into the help to the society. So the entire social help which has been possible is because of the engineers like all of us, right? And then I'm very sure that we all should feel very proud to be part of this esteemed group, right? Group of engineers across the planet. So when we talk about the self-reliant India, right? So for example, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is, as we all know, is a thought, is an idea of by our honorable Prime Minister. And this can be further outlined, right? What are the areas where this self-reliant India can be thought of? Maybe it is a kind of economy or infrastructure, systems, demography or a vibrant demography, and the whole demography and the demand, right? The whole supply chain concept of it. So if we talk about all these areas and say it's 4 to 5 areas where we can really make this, our country is more Atmanirbhar, right? And if we want to really turn up and run this Abhiyan, and if we want to take it on our shoulders, how an engineer can help in this? What is really a self-reliance means? For that, I would say, right, in the normal scenario, in the typical scenario, you are in the giving stage or you are in the taking stage, right? It is now very difficult for one as an individual or as a society or as a country to be completely isolated from this so-called connected world. Now, when we talk about this all connected world and the world has come very closer because of the travel opportunities, anyway, the telephony communication and the data transfers are like a massive, right? Gone are the days when we used to talk about the some certain type of kbs of our computer, right? 360 kb floppy disk is something which we used to have during the engineering days. So gone are the days, right? So world has come closer and more tighter in the communication, but still in these scenarios, right, you it is very difficult for somebody to be completely isolated and completely atmanirbhar on that own, right? But then we have to understand the meaning, what this journey is going to be, right? When we want to be self-reliant, right, when what does it means more is we are in a surplus, we are in a surplus category, right? Surplus in terms of what? Surplus in terms of say I would say whatever, right? Either in terms of the knowledge, either in terms of production, and everything is given, right? It's a straight away in terms of grains, milks, and sources, resources. So we are surplus in the terms, and this is something wherein engineers can really contribute to it, right? And then especially if we have a very good and a great collaboration between interdisciplinary of various engineering faculties, right? Many a times what we feel, right? Sorry. Okay, I thought that there was a question. So many a times, right, what we feel is we are sometimes completely isolated, right? We work in a siloed, right? Sometimes a computer engineer tries to write a very complex algorithm, puts that in some kind of a code, and then the reality, the application side of it, right, is many a times been ignored. And that is not been considered. Or a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer, right, trying to solve a big machine problem, but then how a computer can help in there, right? So these interdisciplinary communications, these interdisciplinary projects, many times what we do, if we continue to do those on a, if we con- if we continue to do, yeah, there is a lot of background noise, and it would be nice if people can go on mute if there is no question. Yeah, thank you so much. So if we can do these interdisciplinary work, right, then it is definitely going to be helpful. Thinking out of the box, right, there are lots of paths which have been created already, but rather than traveling onto those paths, if we can think of a little bit out of the box, I can give you a yesterday's example, right? When we now, I think you must have read the news that there will be a new freeway or a highway from Mumbai to Delhi, which is like 8 lane, 4 lanes going and 4 lanes coming, right? So this is completely new thought highway, which is going to save approximately 150 kilometers. So it's a very simple thing, but out of the box thinking, right? And I'm sure it gives a lot of different results. This out of the box thinking, right, which is a very, very peculiar characteristics of engineers, they should use, all of us for that matter, we should use this characteristic not only to solve the technical problems, even a simple problems like a process problems or a business process problems, which we can solve by either a process reorganization or introducing some kind of a different line, like a production line or a process line, that can really help and that can really solve a problem. I can give you a very simple example, right, wherein the computers and the mechanical engineers have joined hands together for a simple kitchen designing, kitchen in everybody's house, to have a simple kitchen designing, right? So there were working tables in the kitchen, and there were, of course, a lot of instruments and a lot of apparatus, appliances, right, in the kitchen. So then they applied some kind of a black or a dark blue paint to a lady who was working in that kitchen, and then they just left her to do everyday work on her own. And then they measured the footsteps, right? And they really measured how many times she has to walk in a crisscross way. And then after that, after studying the whole traversing path of that particular lady who had traveled between various appliances to do a normal day-to-day work, putting that on a travel graph path, they redesigned the entire kitchen. And believe me, the number of footsteps that lady needed to take for that everyday job reduced drastically. It's a very simple everyday life problem, but that can be completely solved by the engineering mindset. And believe me, these mindsets, which we all are inculcated by our studies, the 3 or 4 years of our college, this is the mindset which we study, right? Second important thing when we need to do when we are planning any kind of a project, right? When all of you will go into the jobs and then you will start serving, working in a different organizations, and all of us going to work, contribute in our respective organizations, but making sure that our aim is to help our society and the country as large, right? So when we all are doing all these things, keep in mind that plan your projects considering the future demand, right? Many times it happens that some kind of a construction we start, some kind of a building or a programming we start, and our immediate aim is maybe a data which is say x GB or x TB of data volume. That's the consideration, right? But the exponential demand needs of that particular application is not considered, and many a times you see and you read in the newspapers that this kind of a website crashed into 2 minutes, and then the SSC portal got crashed into say a few minutes after the results got announced, or JEE mains portal got crashed because of some reason, or some another example, right? You try to do a flyover or a ring road considering the current traffic and maybe a 5 years down the line traffic, and the entire project duration is 10 years. Then imagine the kind of the miscalculations of the volume of traffic we are doing, right? So let's try to think more on the horizon, try to think more on the futuristic approach, so that our projects are more viable and projects are more fruitful and useful to the society. I can give you a very simple example, right? For say Singapore. Many of you may know that Singapore does not have any production of even a single leaf, right, in olden days. Because their land is so small, they have used most of the land for staying and residential purposes and factories and godowns. But they do not have the drinking water of Singapore, it comes from Malaysia. It is shipped filled with the drinking water tanks, and it is being ported from Malaysia to Singapore in last. But they made it to the point that they wanted to make Singapore a completely Atmanirbhar on a drinking water by 2030. And then the engineers there started to work, and then they made a project plan, and they made a project plan to make sure that they are self-reliant on the drinking water after 30 forever, right? So that's the kind of a plan they have done. And when they executed the project well in advance, and instead of 2030, they would be self-reliant in drinking water from 2025. So that's a kind of a thing, right? That's a kind of important lesson we have to take, and that's how we have to work towards it. There is also similar example, right? There is a component manufacturing company in Berlin, right, Germany. They have put a big building, and then nobody is allowed to go to that building. The whole reason is they wanted to make an advanced chips than what Japan is doing. And then since Japan's 5 year growth, the Germany wanted to achieve that 5 year growth in a or 10 year growth in 5 years, right? So that's where they want to make a next step towards Japan. So one of the chip manufacturing companies where I work very closely in Munich, they are also they use their chips in a lot of cellular phones, right? So all those Oppos and those cellular phones, the processor is somebody I work very closely with that. They are our customers. So those people also, the kind of R&D investment they have done, right, is always keeping into the futuristic approach. We also should do into that futuristic approach and problem solving mentality, right? Problem solving mentality in terms of completely thinking out of the box. The advantage, right? This making surplus and technology advancement, what we have, in addition to that, we have a lot important as our asset, right? Along with all the professionalism and the knowledge what we have, the kind of morals and value system, ethics and integrity, right, what we have inherited from our ancestors is very, very important to us. And that makes us stand apart, right? That makes us stand apart when we are traveling and when we are in a meeting with other countrymen, other countries people, other countries consultants. When we talk and when we explain the situation or the problem, it's also we also have this social angle always attached to it. Let me try to elaborate this further with the AI and ML things, right, which are currently right now into the boom. The entire artificial intelligence and machine learning usage, right? Maybe it is in terms of robotics. You are using it for a faster work, saving it time, and making more automation, right? Using either Blue Prism or any kind of thing. One important things which we cannot miss in this is when we are doing automation, right? When we are going to do automation of certain jobs, what are the main reasons of these? One reason is, I would say, saving a time is not a main reason, in my opinion. Achieving the perfection is a main reason of any of the automation ideas. Because obviously humans would make a mistake, and then when we want to attain a Six Sigma or something like that, right? One mistake in 1 lakh or one mistake in 10 lakh level of accuracy, when we want to make it, we really need to automate, and machines do that job periodically, repeatedly, again and again, forever, right? So that's the main reason I would say that we go for an automation. At the same time, the byproduct of this automation is the available bandwidth of our people. Because when you do an automation, the same work probably or even more work is done with a smaller people, smaller capacity, and smaller resource usage, right? Then you have a surplus time. Then you have people who have a lot of bandwidth. And now the major problem comes that how do we utilize this bandwidth available with individuals? Because in my opinion, if we do not use that bandwidth, then obviously the advantage what we would get because of automation are nullified. One side we attain accuracy, but other side we are making a lot of people who are free, who do not have anything to do, and that's dangerous to the society. And then here our brains again we need to bring it together, and we have to understand the impact of this automation and how do we nullify that impact by creating more jobs. And who would create the jobs? It's we, the engineers, right? We, the engineers, would create the jobs, because I'm sure, right? Sir Vishweshwaraya or Dr. Vishweshwaraya alone cannot build the bridge, right? The Vrindavan Park and the bridge on the Kaveri and the dam on the Kaveri River. It's not possible. The importance of these great people is that they are not only great in their fields, but they also have created an opportunity for more great people, for creating more and more great people, for creating more and more great engineers, for creating more and more great managers, leaders. And that's the greatness of these people. Similarly, Dr. Abdul Kalam, right? His greatness becomes even greater when you understand the kind of fleet of people that he has created. Fleet of engineers, fleet of aeronautical, aerospace engineers he has created, right? And that's the legacy they have left behind. And that endorses the greatness of these people. So when we want to talk about, right, when we talk about these creating opportunity, right? So engineers, I would say that can play a role into two different ways, two different styles, I would say, to help people achieving, to help other engineers to achieve their goals, right? That's also an important talk about that's an important thought about the engineers, I would say. How engineers can do these? I would say two classical ways, right? One is a completely, I would say, a Rama style of leadership, and other one I would say as a Krishna style of leadership, right? What is the two difference, right? What is the main difference between the two leadership styles? I would say that Rama was both were front at the different times. They were leading the wars. They were standing in front, leading from the front. The only difference is Rama was leading a bunch of unskilled labor, right? the monkeys, the troop of monkeys, right? Ram was leading a group of unskilled labor, wherein Krishna was leading a highly skilled people. He was leading highly skilled people. So Ram every time had to show how things can be done. He needs to really use an archery. He has to use his skills to show what needs to be done. Whereas Krishna was more into the coaching method, right? Because he was leading Arjun, he was the best archer in the world. He doesn't have to be taught how to use the archery, but he was needed to be coached every time. What is important right now for a society, for a winning, for the human mankind, right? What is important? And that's the separate leadership style. On the other hand, Krishna never took anything in arms in his hand, right? He never fought anything. He was just there standing and coaching. So engineers, they need to lead it from the front. To whenever there is a situation of unskilled labor, right, you have to really show, you have to make your hands dirty, right? It's not the white collar job typically people say, right? You have to make your hands dirty, get into a problems, get into a deep of the problems, and try to lead by the example. And again, you should have an ability to change the styles, change the gears when you have a full skilled team. You don't have to poke your nose at that time. Remember, I'm saying don't have to poke your nose at that time and then tell what it needs to be done. They are probably the better judges to do what needs to be done. But at the time, you have to show them a larger picture. You have to show them a larger path. How this whole thing together is going to help to attain a final goal or to attain a final situation. How do we reach? You have to really guide them rather than, I would say, you have to coach them, right? So there are various phases which you as an engineer will go through, right from the doers to the telling them how to do, right? And when you are telling them how to do, there also you will go to the various facets of teaching, mentoring, coaching, and leading, right? So there are multiple stages from where you will go, and which way you would adopt. Of course, there is no set rule. It's like a thumb rule, or practice, or use your judgment. That's where you would really learn which style you would practice at a particular time, right? Also, it will depend on the kind of problem. Also, it will depend on kind of a labors what you are having, right? The teams what you are having. It's a skilled team or a non-skilled team, right? Now here, right, when you're creating jobs, when you're creating an opportunities for further engineers, right, then there are various methods, right? Very various avenues available, right? Either you would get into some kind of job, either you would get, but at the same time, there are lot more opportunities right now getting open for creating a startup, right? For getting a very startup kind of scenario, start a new business at that time when, or there are a lot of opportunities to patentize or to put your concept into copyright, right? Because all these things, right, many a times, I personally would say that in one big thing where engineers are lazy is a documentation, right? People would say that, and even programmers, right? Many a times when we talk to programmers, and then they say that, okay, tell me the most complex problems, and I will solve it. I will write a 10-pager program. But then when I said, okay, can you also submit a flow chart and the DR diagram or whatever along with it? By the way, I don't have a time to do all these documentation work, right? Or the program documentation, very, very lazy. But then you all have to come up to that and come out of that kind of a mentality, right? And then when you put these things together, in kind of a box, and imagine the kind of advantage you would get into the competitive market if you have concepts on your copyrights, right? All these concepts, copyrights, or you have even patents for your products or for your designs, right? It's going to be helpful. A startup, there are now a lot of startups. I read that there are a lot of startups who are, what is the use of those startups is to help startups, right? So there are a lot of new, there are there are enormous ideas. There are enormous ideas in the society, right? Just keep an eyes and ears open, look around, and you would find a lot of situations where you can really create these new jobs, right? And then fortunately, I would say we have a big thing like an internet. When it is used for a cause, it helps, really it helps a lot in terms of giving ideas what is happening around this particular thing around the globe, and then what are really pain points of people, right, for using particular software or particular process or particular product, right? And that is where I would say that it's an important addition to the society, right? That would be seriously an important addition to the society with these kind of ideas. Then I would also like to probably talk to the teachers who are right now listening, right? The role, and I think sir also referred about the teachers day of which was on 5th September, right? The same month. What's the role of the teachers in this whole journey which I was speaking for last 20-25 minutes, right? The role of a teacher is very important in terms of they really show a path, right? And then my suggestion to the teachers of SIT, right? And then I have been associated with this institute since quite some time now, and I know a lot of teachers personally. My suggestion to all of you is just organize a lot of hackathons, right? Hackathons in terms of like an idea generation, ideation hackathon, and the competitions which will get arranged, right, for these students. My suggestion is never organize a competition like a programming competition of Python or programming competition of C or robot making competition, right? Never try to do these kind of scenarios. My always suggestion would be throw a problem to these engineers, and a competition is to solve the problem. Now, what tools, what methods, what programming language which would be used, leave it completely to these individuals or individual teams. I'm sure they will do a fabulous. They would wear a thinking hat. Let's say when we want to build a small stair, right, or a small table in our house, do we really try to think that okay, do we define our problem as I want to build a fabrication stair or I want to build a metal table? Do we define a problem like this? Never, right? We define a problem like I need a table or I need the stairs. Now, whether to build stairs in a fabrication or a wooden or a concrete or just by bricks mortar or build a table in a steel or a wooden is all the thinking hat of an individual who is actually trying to solve the problem. There are various aspects and various budgetary constraints, whatever, right? But let that be solved, let that be studied and realized by the people who are actually solving that problem. That will help our teams, our engineers to solve the problem, and not by taking a particular tool. You want to tell them this is the nut and you want to open it, right? This is a screw, you want to open it. You can use any screwdriver, any spanner, or even a coin sometimes, right, which helps to open a car battery screw. Don't give us screwdrivers and tool sets and the ideas on which they want to work to the students, right? Always give a problems. Always tell them that this is the scenario you need to work it on. And problems, if they are into a scenario wise, they are even better, because then the scenario needs to get translated into a actual tactical problem, and then it gets solved even further. It gets translated even further to the operationalization of that problem methodology. Something which is very thought provoking. It will help people, your students, to think completely out of the box and give weightage to these ideas, right? Ideation hackathons is another way of getting these ideas collected, right? And when these ideas get collected, a simple way to do idea hackathon is keep all this, get all the interested people in a conference room or a boardroom of the college or a big auditorium, and then put papers on all the walls, right? And ask the students to just write idea, whatever comes to their mind, just write it without even thinking whether it will make sense or not. Just start writing the ideas on the board. And when you do that, then you do a typical first pass, second pass, third pass, right? And then you would see that very, very concise 10, 20, 25 ideas, they are really, really making sense for a betterment of the life into the college or betterment of the life of a society and ultimately helping our country. And then a next step I would suggest is help the students to copyright these ideas. Then there will be a lot of copyright material generated on this group. And then further, some of the copyrighted ideas can be translated into product, which can get into patentize and so on and so forth. Some of the products can really trigger an idea for a startup as well. So this is kind of an hackathon journey I would really want to encourage all the teachers to take along with you, right? Now, in all these scenarios, right, all these things which we were talking about, right, from the self-reliant India, how do we want to make it? How do we really want to contribute towards that as engineers? What could be the self-reliance? And right from that, right, one very, very important thing I would want to you to conclude the discussions, right, is be convinced on what you're doing. You should be fully convinced on the program, on the presentation, on the PPT, whatever you're doing, right? That will make you a really, really into it. Because many a times I have seen, right, when you have a seminars or presentations or something, you prepare a PPT, and when you put a PPT on a projector, you start reading it. What do you think? The audience cannot read English? What is the thought behind the PPT, right? What is the story in which you have put all these PPTs? Reading a bullet points on a seminar, on a project presentation is not something what you as an engineer want to do it, right? It can be done. I would say that people who know the English, they can read it. Fair. What I want you to do is talk through it. Tell the story behind it, why you really think this is important, and explain in a way that how it is going to make sense. Because every time the audience who is attending your presentation, they would ask a simple question to themselves: what is in it for me? What am I going to get after listening to your presentation? That is something which you have to always keep in mind, that what are you giving after completing the presentation. Otherwise, just send a presentation over email and the somebody concerned person would read out of it, right? The bullet point reading, simple English, I can do it. You have to tell the story behind that. You have to tell the thought process behind that. And that is very, very important. Because when you say, right, many a times you read an algorithm and you read a success story, right? A program, right? Let's say there is a complex problem, and then you spend sleepless nights to do a lot of iterations. You are failing every time, and one fine morning you find the resolution, and then you solve the program and solve the problem, and you document the whole solution in a very concise book. Am I interested to read that book only? No. That's the 100th attempt, right, which is successful. I am also interested to understand these 99 failure attempts, what you as an individual have done. And that is a learning for me. So I'm interested to listen to that. And when that's where I say, when you put a PPT together, when you are doing a speech, when you are presenting something, when you are creating a project, creating a program, be completely convinced to it, right? And when that conviction comes, right, you don't really have to mug up the things. The things come really onto your body language, your audio, your voice modulation, everything comes along with that conviction, right? And then the thought which you want to really convey to the other people gets even better conveyed, because you're fully into it, you're fully convinced with that thought. And that is something which you have to always keep in mind, right? Don't touch that or don't leave that product unless you are completely convinced about it, right? Don't go into it, don't step into it. Swim till the time you are completely understood and then you are fully convinced about it. So one, be convinced on what you are doing. Two, never let your fire in the belly down, right? Never let your fire in the belly get away. You have to always have that. That's actually the tempo, that's actually a motto of your running, right? I don't know if you have read some of the stories, right? One of the stories which I was reading, right? The Japanese team or the Japanese people, humans, they like to eat a lot of fish, right? They eat a lot of fish, and then they one fine morning, the people from Japan started realizing that the fish they are getting is not as fresh as they used to get it, right? So then they started finding the reasons, and then they went to markets, and then the shop owners and the ship industry team also tried to figure it out, right? So they thought, no, it may be the catch is from yesterday, and now let's get a fresh catch of today, right? So they did the fresh catch. Yeah, it was the people were feeling it fresh, but still not to the freshness what they were expecting. And then what they realized, right? The shipping or the fishing people, they catch the fish in the sea. Immediately they dump that into a pond so that the fish was alive, and then that was served, right, to the people. Yeah, the fish was still fresh, but it was not still not getting that I would say that kick, right, of the freshness. And then one fine morning, right, the fishing people took the catch from the sea, dumped it into the pond on the ship, and at that time they also put a few big fishes into the pond. These big fishes started running behind the small fishes to eat. And that's the time when these small fishes started running around for saving one's life, right? And when they were trying to save in own life, they were fresh. Because their brains were constantly working. So keep that charge always alive. Otherwise, don't get into that mundane work and don't get into that routine, right? Routine of mechanicalization. So keep that zeal, keep that spark always active. A very simple way to keep that spark is, if you are right-hander, then brush your teeth by left hand. That spark will remain. Your brain needs to work for doing that. So do that, right? So be convinced what you're doing. Keep the hunger in the belly always alive, right? For learning, appetite for learning. Keep that always alive. And the last suggestion, what I would have is, enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the journey. Because once you reach to a destination, it's a matter of a moment, it becomes history. When you reach to a destination, a next moment of that destination reaching, it becomes a history. So it is very important to enjoying that travel together. So travel, enjoy the journey towards your success. There will be challenges. The way you solve the challenges, enjoy those challenges as well as your solving of the challenges. And when you travel on that path while you enjoy the journey, so that you remember, because you have to remember your success is also a momentarily, right? Once you enjoy a success for a moment, it becomes history again, and you have to recall that history, right? You have to recall that success. So you have to recall that journey along with success. It brings even more joy. It brings even more joy. It brings even more talking when you sit together, and when you are relishing, right? When you are really looking back, you would feel sense of achievement even more when you are enjoying the journey as well. I would say that these were my thoughts, and that's the way I would say it will make all of us more happy engineers. Because believe me, we are the next people who are really putting our country on the forefront, right? And we really need to do that. We really need to support the Atmanirbhar Abhiyan, what we have started as a country together. And I'm pretty sure that all of us together will make even flourish it further, right? And we'll put a chand on this, the entire journey what we have together started as a country, right? So again, thank you so much for patient listening. And of course, this would have been even more encouraging if this is like in a big auditorium of Sihagan Institute. But nevertheless, the situations and the pandemic is putting us on all this. But again, thankful to all the engineers who are making this virtual platform happening successfully, and looking forward to see you all in person at some point of time in life, right? So thank you so much and take care.
Thank you so much.